Okay, let's jump straight into it. So the very first thing we're gonna do is shape a vase, very basic to get started. Then we're gonna add the base to it, just to see how we can, move in between different models and move straight to the spiral block where we will be generating our G-code. This is a pretty basic workflow, but it's better to start simple and eventually will be easy to add complexity and do all the fancy stuff. Let's make sure to get the basic right. So let's see what we have here. This is the parameters we have to interact with. So first thing first, we gonna name our file something convenient, and then we move into the display tab. So the display tab is something that pretty much appear in this very same way throughout every module. So just control, as I say, the way that your object or your work is visualized. So you can show or hide the design space, this red box which shows you the dimension, and then you can choose to toggle a solid preview, so to have a better idea of what's happening. Solid preview is great, but can be painfully slow. So you can either, lower the resolution, and that's just the display resolution. Your shape is still a smooth circle, actually. Or you can, what I do, for example, is always work in curve mode, and then now and then toggle the solid preview in order to see what's happening, and then you can, of course, select the area of the object you want to focus on. And that's all about the display. Next, what we're gonna do is define the size. So very first important thing, the very important thing here is define the layer rate straight away. And this is very unusual, but actually we are doing toolpath level design. So in toolpath level design, the layer, it becomes the really basic building block of your design, and the layer rate is quite an important parameter to take into account since the beginning. So we are not slicing down, we are building up slice by slice. So yeah, you can change to some pretty huge layer rate if you want. So you have it separated for the first layer. For example, this is 8 by 4 millimeter, which is, maybe some of you like to go big. But yeah, I will stick with 0.7 and 0.6, which is whatever work on my setup. And then, of course, you can define the size of the design space. You can make it wider, smaller, taller, again, to some pretty huge size. Some of you have big printers, so that's why. But again, I'll just make a small object, something like that. Okay, we got the dimension right. Of course, you can change it later on if you want, as long as you are within the same module, of course. Then we're gonna actually shape this face, right? So we have a bunch of options which let us define like the cross section, like an hexagon, a square, whatever you really like. I go with pentagons. 5 tips is actually pretty fancy. So yeah, we move around it, and you can define the fillet. Here we have some sharp corner, but I like to have it a bit better. And then here you can define the number of control sections. You see, now we have 5: base, A, B, and C, top. And we can also decide to make the change sharp, like this. And maybe let's see what happens when we put 3 here, something like that. And we can go also with 2, which give us a straight cylinder. Let's say I stick to 5, but I want a smooth profile, and this weird shape look cool, right? And there we go. Now we can actually also change how this section control our shape, of course. So we try to say the profile, something like that. Nice. And here we have the profile, and each section is controlled by 8 and width. So we have base, of course, just the width. Now it's 0.5. We can put it at 0.7, make it a bit wider. Nice. I will leave the C section as it is, but I actually want to make the B slightly narrower, maybe 0.6. Okay, what I did actually bring it down 8, and I also gonna make it slightly narrower. Yeah, so this base with the little bump is actually looks pretty fancy to me. I'm happy with the design. What I'm gonna do is download it. And as I hit the download 5, my browser actually asked me to confirm the download. This is not always the case. Sometimes just download. So I just save it. And you may have noticed that it downloads as a 3DM. For those of you who doesn't know, that's Rhinoceros 3D native format. And that's because SliceUp is an application built on the top of the Rhino platform. Doesn't matter if you cannot open it. It usually does not communicate well with other CAD softwares. As a matter of fact, I'm working on Linux right now, and of course I cannot open the format, but that doesn't matter. Everything happened on our servers, so you should be fine.